Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. React if you have to. Yeah.
Don't know the time, yeah. Just know that I'm, one of a kind, yeah. What's on your mind, yeah. Well, hard to find, yeah. Beautiful mind, yeah. Still in my prime, yeah. Just know that I'm here.
What's up, everybody? Pond Off Synonymous episode Dirty 30.
Dirty 30.
30 episodes after today in the bag. We're still doing this.
It's weird.
And,
how did we get here?
That's a good question. And maybe the most important question is why the fuck we're still doing this. But the short answer to that is we had another I think we helped another human being this week.
That's right.
Because of the podcast. So that's why we're doing it.
Yep.
That's why we're punching these out and having a little fun with it, but also talking about some real serious shit.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, brother. What a ride. I it's I don't know if hobby's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important work. I'm not, trying to inflate like a self-worth thing. It's not, I don't want to come off that way, but I've seen some minor miracles happen since we started doing this, and I'm not saying that not even 1% of the credit should go on our shoulders, but it's putting it out there and spreading the message of hope and possibility as far as life changes and recovery are concerned. So all the credit goes to God, no doubt, but and the individual that tried to take back control of their own life. So that's why we're doing it, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it's, we've talked a lot about calling at our church recently.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's a part of our calling, Maybe not all of our calling, but it's a part of our calling.
Yeah, that hit me last, I guess it was Sunday, when Matt talked about that. And it hit me that people oftentimes confuse calling with their strength. Say, I'm good at this, it means God wants me to do this.
Yeah.
Maybe in some cases, but I really took it as God uses our weaknesses. We kind of help people in our weakness.
Yeah.
Wine being addiction and alcoholism.
Yeah.
So that hit home, and I would say validate is it maybe validated our mission. It didn't validate me. I'm invalid. So at all times, but I took it more of as a fuck, Chris, you just got to keep going.
Right.
You got to keep doing this shit. So
yep.
I was really grateful for that perspective on Sunday.
Man, I'm thankful every time it seems like, man, this is another thing. Anytime this starts becoming a burden, which, it can, because life's crazy right now.
Sure.
Anytime that happens, I almost always get hit with hey, guess what? We've been able to help another person, and it's like, well, then we're doing it. We're going to keep going.
Right.
And it gives us that energy I think it takes to keep doing this.
Yeah, no kidding. And that person, also to jump back to the point where it's not our credit, right? It's credit to the guys like Eric.
Yeah.
because it was his story ultimately that resonated with a listener, and we'll continue to do so, because it's what I'm seeing is people aren't. We release on Mondays, and it takes weeks for people to get to a certain episode. So God only knows where the reach that an episode like Eric's will have. And I just you said it best when there's, oh shit, we gotta schedule this, we gotta get this podcast done for Monday's release. Just me being lazy sometimes is the burden, and I'm like, and then we get a note like that, and it's like, fuck, yep, yeah, all right, message received, Jesus, with your subtlety.
Maybe not so subtle sometimes.
Yeah, right. I've learned that I ignore all the subtle hints. It usually takes him to kind of like, slap me in the face a little bit and make it pretty fucking clear that, hey, you listening? But funny story about Matt, the pastor at our church. He's let me know that it's time to start paying the piper. So I don't think he spends much time looking at the balance sheets on the giving. Yeah, but he's much more creative than that. So I paid his son helps us with childcare, and I paid him, and I said, make sure you tell your dad this was going to go to the basket, but I got to have childcare. So I poked the bear, and the bear poked back. So
he's not afraid to do that, is he?
I got to start figuring. I got to start, I guess, tossing some pocket change, since there's such a shortage into the basket when he passes it on Sunday.
Yes.
Hey, being episode 30, Jeff, I thought maybe we'd just kind of recap some of our favorite episodes. I mean, go through on a high level, in case people are just now tuning in and maybe see some things that they miss. So I pulled up the list, starting with number one, and high level we can go through and just talk about highlights from each episode. The first couple were just kind of introductory. And I think it's important too, and for my personal story, I know it's not about, I don't want to ever, it's just my personal story, that things that I've kind of recovered from. It's not a hey, look at me, but today is what is today? I know what the day is, but it's 2020. So on July 25th. Yep. Saturday morning, July 25th, is a forever imprinted day on my heart, soul, gut, big gut, brain, all that shit. It is the anniversary of when my best friend was killed in a go-kart accident back when we were 8. So we're going, I guess, it's 28 years to this day. And the reason I bring it up is because I spoke about that quite a bit in episode 2. Episode 1 was fun. We was just kind of laying out the mission, Basically, I started episode 1 saying, why the fuck am I here doing this? And, who's going to listen to us?
Also, by the way, episode 1, you've got me... I had no idea you were going to talk to me. So you're on mic, and I'm not. I thought I was producing this thing. And here I am with a microphone now. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Well, you're all in. It's
episode 1, you can hear me in the background laughing and trying to reply to you.
Right. Yeah, and you're like, shit, what? Wait, I wasn't ready for this. It's like they say about, is the breakfast, right? It's you're either involved or committed. Okay, so the chicken is involved when you're having eggs, but the pig's fucking committed if you're having bacon, right? So we got you in.
Yeah.
And we took off from there. So, and it's been so much fun. We did, like, when we were talking about starting this podcast, we didn't really go over that, but it was always my vision. I needed I can't do this. I talk a lot, right? I get bitched at quite often about that, but I need to come up for air. And Jeff, you're my man. So that's funny you bring that up. And then episode 2, it was kind of my pity party story, but it defined me as I've learned more, especially about childhood trauma, and what kids go through, especially they say 0 to 6. I was 8 when Johnny died, but I mean, you get the point. I think we're all defined by trauma that we all experience throughout life, and it's how we handle it, and why it's important, whether it's trauma, addiction. Sometimes trauma leads to the self-medicating, right? That we can we can own our trauma, our grief, our addiction, anything that you're seeking help for. We can own that, or it can own us. I mean, that's as simple as it is. Anger's a big one. Anger can own us, man. It can consume us, and it can win, and it's oftentimes I feel it's just the fucking enemy pulling you down, man. And I think that's important. So it's not just trauma, addiction, what you think of things driving you. It can be grief, depression, and it's not easy. It's not like I'm trying to say you can turn a light switch on and make the decision. Anxiety, as Jeff's talked about quite often. But the way to own it is to get some help, and there are people out there that can help with this shit, and things you can do to help. And I'll as we're rambling a little bit, I know we're going to go through these 30 episodes, or we'll kind of recap what we've done. There is, for me, it's like a kid, right? Like you're raising a child, and they don't listen. Why don't you listen to me? Why don't you just listen? It's fucking hard to just listen, right? We all suffer from the know-it-all syndrome, right? To an extent. But when I was able to be successful in recovery and successful on getting the help that needed to make the big change, and to own my alcoholism instead of alcoholism owning me, to own my anxiety, to own my depression, to own my anger, because I was an angry motherfucker for a while. I had to finally surrender and listen. And I can picture my old man always telling me how to do things, right? And then I would never do it his way. And then one day I'd just start doing it his way, and he'd be like, the fucking light went off, right? And it's, for those of you that are parents, get it. Especially of kids that are, 5 and older, maybe into teenagers, you have probably told them, why don't you just listen? The problem is you don't listen, that shit like that. And we try to do things on our own, even as adults, so much, especially in our 20s. We really know fucking everything when we're in our 20s. And shit hasn't even started yet,
Yeah.
I mean, I literally got sober when I was 30, so...
Yeah.
Because I started fucking listening. I surrendered, and I listened to people that have been there before. I listened to people that I find to be wiser than me, human beings, and it's helped. So that's my message. Not to be too long-winded on episode 2, but it's kind of in honor of Johnny. You know, sure. I didn't know what the trauma had done to me because I never really got the help that I needed. Not to my parents' fault. They were also going through some shit. You know, I don't know if I told the story about us. We were getting sued for everything we had from John's biological father, who is now doing life in prison because he's a fucking scumbag. But let us pray. And that's not Christian. Point is, they were going through all that, and I think I did have a couple therapists, but only one connected with me. And I remember to this day, I was in 3rd grade, and I'm friends with her on Facebook. And I wrote her a letter in high school letting her know that how much she meant to me. And I still to this day remember, her name was Mrs. Hart. Now it's Laura Jacoby, and I always say her last name wrong. Let me, just so I don't get her name wrong, her last name.
Get it right so that we can all...
It's not Van... I always want to say Vander. It's Laura Jacoby Van Hook.
Okay.
And I wanted to give her a shout-out. Not that she probably listens to this, but she was a counselor, and like, so this happened this summer going into 3rd grade. In 3rd grade, it's a fucking... my family breaks my balls over it to this day, but I was fucked up in the head, and... So, you know, I got upset, and I brought a fucking knife to school in 3rd grade, and it wasn't a fucking switchblade or a butcher knife. Do you remember the old Adidas jackets?
Oh yeah.
I had a black one.
Me too.
They were all the fucking rage.
Yep.
My Adidas jacket and my pumps, and the Adidas jackets. All day I dream about sex.
Yeah.
The Adidas jackets had that inside pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So I fit the only knife I could fit in that inside pocket, and it happened to be a fucking cheese spreader and the handle of it was a candy cane. I still have this fucking knife to this day. My mom's sister always wants to put it out every holiday because her kids have been giving me shit over it for years, but luckily I never took it out of my pocket, but I took it in, and I told my friends who told their mother fucking tattletales, I won't say their names, Whitaker twins, but they, God bless them, they did the right thing, right? So they told their mom, who immediately told my mother, because they were all concerned, all of us, that we were all in the same Little League team, and Johnny was on our Little League team, and we all went through this, just this unimaginable grief when you're losing a friend at that age, and the lack of understanding, just from being young. I mean, there's a lack of understanding and a lot of senseless death for adults and us today. So imagine it for an 8-year-old, but. It's just a freak accident, excuse me, and that. So I got in trouble, and it got around the school, and the school had known my issues, and I didn't get in big trouble, but I got, it was serious. It was a kid, and then I had to work with this counselor and therapist, and she just became my friend and really sat down with me in the fucking pit, man, and and helped me the best she could help a kid that age. And then I'll never forget her. And then I remember she hated the Cowboys. I liked the Cowboys, obviously, because they were winning everything back then.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a starter jersey, too? Remember those?
Yeah.
Starter jackets. Yeah.
I had a Cowboy starter jacket. I had an Emmitt Smith jersey.
Yeah, I had the Emmitt Smith jersey.
Well, right. I mean, who didn't like Emmitt Smith?
Yeah.
And, but she didn't like the Cowboys, so she was pulling for the Bills, and we had a little...
Ew.
She said if the Cowboys win, that she would buy me a soda from the soda machine at school, which was a big fucking deal to an 8-year-old. So that's your shout out. I still love you, and I still recall you Mrs. Hart. But sorry, I know that's not your name. But and I think I at one point was all drunk at Clinton Hills and hit on your daughter. So. Who was also named Ashley, but in fact, I don't think. I know I did because I remember it. She reminds me of it. The daughter does quite often. But all is well that ends well. So, just moving forward, that was my extent of dealing with the childhood trauma. I remember when I was a later teenager, my mom did say, you need to go talk to this person. So I went, and he was this guy, and I literally, shit you not, he had those two, like, nuts. They look like little balls on the, they are little balls, right? They look like a sack, and pardon my language, and you click one over. And it clicks, swings like a fucking pendulum, right? He had those, and I kept fucking around with them. And he's like, and I was just talking with him about little bullshit. And then finally he's like, we're here. We need to talk about the death of your best friend. And I said, you know what? I'm out of here. And I go, and your fucking nuts suck. Or I said something else, so I was pissed. It probably wasn't his fault, but I was angry. I think I was pretty liquored up at the time. I was 16 or 17, so I know I did some shots before going in to talk to this guy because A, I didn't want to talk about this shit.
Yeah.
And B, when I had a couple drinks in me, I thought I was a better talker. So, and I'm rambling about shit again, but the trauma that happens in people's lives, it defines us. And then when we figure it out, when we stop trying to deal with it on our own for whatever reason, whether it's stubbornness or pride, whatever gets in the way of us seeking help and surrendering and listening, that's when I've seen some real fucking miracles happen. I hear it all the time when I'm a part of AA meetings, and I mean, each person's story is so different and unique, but so similar right there, right where the change happened.
Yep. And
it's when we figured out that we can't do this fucking shit all on our own, man. And what a fucking burden that is to do. How liberating is it to realize that you can have some people help you. I mean, and it's fucking empowering, and I think it's a sign of strength. So, and in fact, I don't think I know it is.
Yeah.
But I remember episode 3, 4, and 5 were back to the little recap series for those of you that missed it. Episode 3, I talked about one of the first things I did when I got sober, and it was all about joy. And I went back to a time of my life when I was happy, just a happy kid, which I was even after Johnny died. Because kids fucking are resilient, man. I wish I was as resilient as I was back then. I wish I was as resilient as Charlie. We aren't. We got so much fucking baggage and shit and predispositions that we've learned, and now we know it all and all that, like we talked about. But so I went back to a time before alcohol when I was happy, when I didn't even know what a substance was, and that was my childhood. So when I first got sober, I started doing things like I loved Emmitt Smith. So I had shed that Cowboys disease. Pardon you, Cowboys fans, but I started. I was a sports fucking addict, so I wanted to watch. I had some extra cash in my pockets now, so I got some cool like Illini stuff. I got some, my favorite NASCAR driver and then just watched every sport I could because that's what made me happy when I was a kid. It made me happy to this day. So that's what episode 3 was about for the most part, and just offering some tips for people that are newly into recovery. And then 4 and 5 were just we had a little quick Christmas and New Year's episodes. They were we had started recording. We started the podcast, released it in the beginning of January, and then we started recording before that.
Yeah.
So I think we recorded those episodes right around that time.
Yep.
And then still one of my favorite episodes was number 6, where we had Nick Boatman come in, and we titled it A Trailblazer, and he shares his story.
I love Nick's story, man. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
And hilarious.
He has a way with words as well, and he went from being a his self-described heroin addict junkie, and he didn't like he talked about how he hates that term because it doesn't just happen overnight, but and he explains that, as Eric did last week, and how at one point he was in his underwear in a ghetto trying to score drugs, and they stole his car, pistol whipped him, and he was had a real paranoid attack, so he hid out in a braid shop. Probably the only white guy in this neighborhood in his underwear. So that he said that was the point where he realized his life was unmanageable. That's a quote he used on the episode. And Nick has now since he can't even count the amount of people he's helped through his journey and his treatment facilities and treatment centers. So
yeah, and I think that's part of this whole thing that's kind of interesting is, some people's rock bottoms are really scary, and his rock bottom was really scary to him, but he also told it in such a humorous way that you feel bad for laughing at it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, of course, you got to be lighthearted with stuff sometimes, But,
no, I think because it's pretty heavy. If not, and through this, when you get to that point, and then there's nothing that fucking humbles you more. So that humility, which is life saving for me, makes us able to laugh at how bad it was, but also know how bad it was. So, right. And we also share the worst of the worst stories, so people can really see the illustration. We try to articulate it well enough so they know and can relate to it, because they've had their braid shop story, they've had their pistol whip story, they've had their rampage in a bar story, their whatever, name that rock bottom shit story. They've had it, and they can relate to it, and they can see that there's a way up and a way out. I remember episode 7, we talked about being pussies because we take medication.
Yeah.
And we talked about, you talked a lot about your anxiety, and how you've had it for quite some time, and how you fight it, and that maybe at the end of the day we're actually not weak motherfuckers, that because we want to try and make ourselves healthier and better.
I'll say it again, I'm thankful for the medication, and the last couple of days for me, to be totally transparent, have been really rough with some personal stuff, with some family stuff that triggers it. To go back a little bit, I'm finding that a lot of nostalgia triggers it for me, like thinking back on high school times, and if I get like thinking about it too much, even sometimes listening to the music from that era too much will just trigger anxiety for me. It's weird, really weird.
That's funny because I see you've been posting like some 90s music stuff. Well, not just recently it's been all Taylor Swift. So
the new Taylor Swift record is the most amazing thing she's ever done.
So maybe Taylor's helping you with that a little
I like
bit,
me some Taylor on this record.
Me and Screech love Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
We used to get drunk and sing her songs really loud. The Romeo and Juliet, that song.
Yeah.
We love that song, me and Screech.
Great.
That's me and Screech's little love song, our little ballad. Well, praying for you, buddy. I hope.
Thanks, yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that because days can be grinds, and it's not linear. As we heard from one of the episodes coming up that we'll recap.
Right.
Episode 8, we told our church stories on how the church we go to has been instrumental in our lives, and I don't want to speak for you, but I would assume it's made you a better person. I think it's made me a better person. Some people may disagree. Some people may say, no, you douchebag, you used to be a lot fucking cooler when you were an asshole and a drunk and snorted a bunch of cocaine. You were a lot cooler then. You're a douchebag now. I'm sure there's people out there that say that. But when I look in the mirror, I think I'm doing things better, and I do credit the church that I go to as a home, as a homing beacon, when I start to wander down the road of anger or just being a fucking asshole, what would the Mats do, as my mother say, fucking Miowski and Fulmer. So it's we shared that story, and
yeah, I was most nervous about that one because I'm not ashamed of my faith, but I also don't want to turn people off, you know what I mean, from the message if they have baggage from church or with people who claim to be Christians, who have probably shamed them or whatever.
Excluded them.
Yeah, I was super nervous about that. That's the last thing. I think we just wanted to provide hope and show that, that a few bad apples don't spoil the whole bunch, No,
it's true. And I'm glad you said that because I think you've been to places like that where I haven't, just because of my limited, church history. Besides, like I've said, I only got my religious spiritual advice from the Father Grogan, our Catholic priest, and the only time I saw him was at funerals and weddings. So that's when I'd get my spiritual advice. But I totally understand what you mean, and I will say that I just had this conversation the other night with somebody that, I'm not going to beat nobody over the head with a fucking Bible. I don't. That is just not. That's not the game. It just happened to be my way. I've seen people recover different ways, but it happened to be my way. And you're right. Talking about our faith, we think about automatically turning people off. And I'm not really talking about the non-believers. I think they're even. I have some friends that are maybe a skeptic or a non-believer that embrace this faith story more than the people that have been fucking fucked over by a church and treated like dog shit in the name of fucking Jesus, which is so fucked up. But
yeah,
that's the crew that my heart hurts for the most. And it sucks. It's so fucking sad, but it's the world we live in. And bunch of imperfect, judgmental assholes, but it is what it is. So, I think we did good. I don't think we weren't just. I wasn't like preaching or reading a bunch of fucking scripture to people. I don't think. I haven't listened to the episode in a while.
Yeah.
And then we started a little a series, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Episode 9 was the ugly was me just becoming a complete liability to everybody I was around during the depths of my addiction. And that was that was episode 9. So that was part 1 of that series. And in between that, in between that series, because we did part 1, then we had a number of guests, which I don't say put us on the map, but we're not on any fucking map, but it made my heart just blow up for this whole mission, because we had talked to, obviously, Nick, and shared his story, and then we rattled off, I'm reading 4 guests in a row that were just, each time we have a guest on, I just blow up. The first one was with Michelle. I mean,
how incredible!
Which was with Teresa,
right?
Regarding her sister Michelle, and her sister's passing away from the disease. And Teresa's just, and I will use this term intentionally because of her just love for fucking music. Teresa's a fucking rock star.
Yeah,
and
she's
and her
cool,
story,
man. And we're Facebook friends now because of that episode, and we back and forth,
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's awesome.
You two have a lot in common. Musically, politically, you both are kind motherfuckers, right?
We ganged up on you that day.
Yep, sure did. Yeah, and she's a warrior too, man. She's going through her grief story and journey, and just a really courageous, brave human being that I look up to.
Yep.
That was episode 10. Episode 11 was Megan. God love Megan. She Megan Gears is her name, and she has a real powerful story of her alcoholism and how it almost killed her, how she was in the hospital being told she needed a liver transplant because it was so bad, and she still wanted to drink vodka. But at some point that light went on, and she listened, and she surrendered. And Megan to this day is a little over 2 years sober and soaring within
what a sweetheart.
She's soaring in the recovery community. She will take it. She will, if somebody needs help. Megan is a person that you can reach out to, and she'll help steer you in the right direction. And she spends a lot of her time in the program and helping people and driving people to meetings and being there, being a hug for them, a resource for them. And she's just got a heart of gold. And that episode I talk about often. With people that reach out, that are in the absolute bottom of the pit, the bottom of the bottle, bottom of the barrel, if you will. And I said, please listen to Megan's episode, because it's another message of hope. She thought she was either going to need a transplant or die, and a miracle happened. And she got sober. That miracle is her getting sober, and I believe her liver has healed. Let her confirm that. But
that was our first video episode, and
it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's also one of the most listened and viewed, definitely the most viewed podcast we've ever done, because she just has a network of people who love her and share that episode. So people just wanted to hear her story. Really good.
That was I'm glad you brought that up. And that's true. The next episode was fun for me to do, because this guy's a great guy, and it's a topic I by far the least amount of an expert on. But I get it, because I've been in that friends and family of category of a bipolar, a person suffering from bipolar disorder. And we had Mike Wellington on, former professional golfer. We told some golf jokes. We talked about our common theme, a radio station that we like, are a member of this cult that listens to this radio station in the morning, and it can be vile and dirty, and we talk about each other's wives that if they ever find out, they'll fucking kill us. Things like that. Not Mike, but like speaking from personal experience. But Mike's a great guy. He wrote a book, Birdies, Bogeys, and Bipolar Disorder, and it talks about his struggle playing professional golf and dealing and with his bipolar disorder, and I think he's one that would agree that that his disease controlled him,
right,
owned him until he was able to get the help he needed, listen, surrender, and now he owns it, and helps a countless amount of people. In fact, a person that he helped, before we talked about this, even the podcast was an idea, he had helped a person I know through a colleague at work, and that person's living a really healthy, great life now, and he wants to come on the show to talk about it. So,
oh, awesome.
Yeah. So his name's Tyler. We'll have him on
I'd love that.
soon. I keep telling him that I want to wait till we can get it in person, because I really want to meet up with Tyler anyway. And you had texted me earlier, like, hey, when are we going to start doing this together? I said, hey, you fucking tell me. So
as soon as our space says I can, I'll ask soon.
Then yeah. And I'm excited to get out of this fucking rat hole basement.
We can spread out here, too, where I'm at, so if we need to, you know.
Well, we can't sit on each other's laps.
We can do the 6 feet. It'll be good.
So, and then episode 13 was fun. It was.
I loved that one.
It was Jeff Stevens for Wellbeing Brewing. I have people to this day ask me where they can get Wellbeing, that guy you talked to. I mean, out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I need to let Jeff know that. I try to tag him in some social media stuff, so I hope he sees that, because all kinds of people. A buddy of mine was going on a sober friend of mine was going on a vacation, I think, up to Wisconsin, and he's like, hey, I got to stock up, because he wanted to take his friends this shit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a cool thing, man.
We've sold
people
a few Sixers for him, man.
Yeah, there you go.
But he did us a great service, too, by coming on and telling his story. He has a quote that you've used in several episodes since. What's that quote? Can you share that?
Yeah, it's when one person gets sober, at least 10 people's lives change.
Yeah.
I think it's something around those lines, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fucking true. And I still do use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jeff, I think, put the bottle down in his early 20s and hasn't looked back. And and noticed that there was a gap between between water and maybe a shitty NA beer at a bar, and he was able to create a wonderful product for people that want to still go out and have something fun to drink besides something sugary ass mocktail that's a thing now. For me, I'm a club soda guy, but a lot of people want, a cool, crafty, non-alcoholic beer that tastes good. I mean, every other one that I know of tastes like shit. So
well, and as I've shared many times that I don't struggle with alcohol issues, so I drink, and my wife does too, but she's pregnant. So we went and got us some Well-Being, and every now and then we'll have some, beers on the deck, and she can drink. I like it, so I wanted to drink it, but she said, hands off. It's hers right now.
Right, yeah.
So I'll just stick with Stag. I love Stag.
Stag and Ollie Oxen Free.
Yes, Ollie Oxen Free is so. I should not. Maybe I don't know.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't say how good it is.
well, I want to have Mark wants to come on, and I've hesitated having Mark, my cousin, who owns some restaurants and is a partner with a. They named a beer after his son, my nephew, who passed away from congenital heart disease. We've talked about him on the show. His name was Ollie, and so they named a beer after him, this perennial ale brew pub, I believe it's called, and now they have it at his restaurant. Well, I want to have Mark on to talk about the restaurant industry and how they're hurting, and his life, because he's been through some shit, obviously. I mean, that's a fucking understatement. I mean, he lost a child. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. So, but also, I used to party with him when I was younger, and he could. The reason I've hesitated because he'll come on here and break my fucking balls the whole episode, and it's like,
I can't wait.
Right.
I haven't seen him in that light. I mean, I've had some sit down interviews with him because he and his wife go to our church, and so I've seen them in a very professional scenario. But I need to see the real Mark Hinkle. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just wait. As soon after his second glass of red wine, his teeth turned purple. and then after about 4 or 5, he gets real squinty eyed, and he's funnier than shit. He's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. So, yeah, we'll have him on. So, the next, and then episode 14 is when the world changed. It was our first episode under the quarantine order. That's when we started recording from doing over Zoom, and talked about the brutal nature of and what it felt like in March is different than what it feels like now. Not for everybody, but I mean it just does. Because March it was so, and like I said, it's not like everything is known and things change so much, but March was a scary fucking time, man. I mean, and a lot of people, I think the majority of people were unified and had some fear of this. I know it's completely split now in a shit show like everything else in this fucking country, but you either are angry and on this side or angry on that side, and there are people, believe it or not, in the middle, and but they just don't get heard. It just seems like there's so much fucking vitriol out there. But the point is, in March, right when it started, the world changed, and it felt different than it does today as we've tried to adapt and return to some sense of normalcy. But boy, what a fucking time that was. And it was just at back March.
What's really weird about it, dude, is that you just made me realize this. We have officially, I think, as of this episode, we have done more podcasts this way than we have in person.
Oh, that's a good point, man.
That's messed up. I hate it.
That wasn't. Yeah, can you imagine? Like if we sat down and talked about, hey, I didn't know what fucking Zoom was until then.
Yeah, me either.
I mean, I've done WebEx. Yeah, right. I've done Skypes. I've done WebExes. Fucking FaceTime. I've sent nude pictures via text message. Just kidding.
I know you're not.
Yeah, right. This I highly. What's the opposite of advise? Advise against?
Discourage.
Highly discourage that type of behavior. But good point, man. We never sat down and envisioned our podcast looking like this. But man, we adapted. We punched through, and we're still episode 15. The halfway point was pretty cool. It was Joey Miner plays with the Well Hungarians, and Joey was apprehensive about coming on the show because he wasn't before or after. He was more in the middle in terms of recovery and struggling, which made that episode really powerful. And Joey's he's got a heart of gold. He's a good friend. He's a great human being. And him coming on was and he really spoke to those that are in the middle right now. They're not necessarily at rock bottom, and they're not maybe where I am or people beyond me in their sobriety recovery journey, but that perspective was insanely powerful, and I was to this day really grateful he came on. Next, episode 16, leading up to Easter, we had Matt Miowski on, who's ball breaking me right now to pay the piper. He said it's a pay to play relationship from here on out. So. I got to set up the direct deposit. I'm telling you, but and we kid about all that.
Yeah.
But this church's mission, man. They give away the money goes to technology so people can worship online. Mm-hmm. There's an amazing staff at the church, and then it goes to people that fucking need it. I mean, they give away 100% of their Easter offering, 100% of their Christmas Eve offering, which 98% of the other churches rely on to survive because it's their busiest days. They give it away to one goes, I think, to the city, to projects in the real inner city where it's needed, and the other one goes to Mozambique to dig wells for people that don't have fucking water. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we joke and everything, but it's not this fucking guy ain't driving around in a Lamborghini or a Porsche. He's got a piece of shit orange ugly ass Honda car that
Honda Fit,
whatever, and I don't mean to insult him, but I do. That car, he's ready for an upgrade. I don't think he's going to roll any eyes if he gets himself a new ride. But I think he loves that fucking car.
He does love it, and it's Gathering orange. Our color at the Gathering is orange, and his car is orange.
It's a little faded, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. I told him if he ever gets rid of it, that we have to, like, you know how at car dealerships they have these like big boulder stones in front, and then they park like the truck right on top. We need to do that with his Honda Fit right out in the parking lot at the McCausland site here in St. Louis.
The fucking the Pope Mobile it is, right?
Yes. Either that or stick it in the ground coming out like those spray paint.
Absolutely. You know what I loved about Matt's episode is he talked to the people and the skeptics, and he was like, man, I get it.
Yeah.
The church has fucked over a lot of people, and I get your skepticism, and that's what we want.
I think he said the word shit in it.
He did, and I behaved myself.
And a pastor who swears is a pastor I like. That means
True
you're
story.
real.
Right. You're not a fake motherfucker. He's the man, and that was awesome that he was able to come on. The next episode, 17, was part 2 of that series I referred to earlier, called The Bad, and it was me I was not a reliability or lack thereof. I was during my addiction and alcoholism, I was you couldn't rely on me for anything. You could rely on me for one thing, meeting you at the bar for a drink, but other than that, I was no good to you. Speaking of Ollie, I remember when he had his heart attack that ended up being the final blow for him. I got the news on a Saturday night. Saturday night. Shit, I had started drinking screwdrivers at breakfast at Charlie's in downtown Belleville.
Rest in peace, Charlie's.
Biscuits and gravy, baby. I got in a car and drove to Cardinal Glennon. And could have caused a whole fucking shitstorm in my family by causing another self-induced accident. So that was a look in the mirror episode. Episode 18, we titled it Footprints, and we talked again about, and it's part 3 of the story, and it comes... I titled it Footprints because it's that, like I said earlier, for me it was turning shit over to God and realizing that during the hardest times in your life, there's only one set of footprints in the sand, and the guy said to God, how come during the hardest points of my life, you left me and it was just me there walking? And he said, I didn't leave you, I was carrying you. Yeah. And I really have always subscribed to that, and just got to recognize that's happening. And for me, my saving grace was this great fucking humility. I touched on it earlier. When I went to rehab, talk about humbling. Check into rehab and stay there for a little bit, and you should become a humbler version of yourself. Mm-hmm. And for me, maybe you already are going in, but for my personal. Sometimes people think I'm fucking, I don't know, come off a little bit cocky or confident. I don't know why. I don't feel that way. I know I was a little cocky as an ice hockey player, but, it was fucking, it was all business, Right. I would fight guys on the rink and then drink beer with them right after we beat the shit out of each other. So, but the point is that humbling is what helped save my life, and we touch on that in 18. On episode 19, we have a CPA, a fucking money guy, money. Ted DiBiase himself.
Yeah, that's right.
His bodyguard Virgil. Mark Milton, as the phrase goes, if you're with Milty, you're not guilty. He is a tax lawyer, and people wondering why we had him on, maybe, or if you're wondering now, well, he's seen a lot of shit. People gamble, drink, snort their life savings away, and not pay taxes, and coming from that perspective, he offers some tips on things that can do, and maybe exposes that big monster under the bed that it's a overcomable, if that's a word, task.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we hide from it because we're so scared that we're going to be fucked. We don't have the money, and he was good at offering, dispelling that a little bit, dispelling that myth, and And has seen some shit in his own right, man. He's overcome some shit, and I was really excited to have him on. And it was also right around when the stimulus checks were going out. So,
yep.
You know, the last thing an addict needs is a stimulus check, but for people that are rebuilding their lives in recovery, how do you get that? He was helpful in those regards. On the home stretch, as we're getting a little long-winded here, the episode 20 was episode 20. I think we did a where we came from, where we're at, and where we're going episode. Sort of like this, a little recap, but talked about our mission, why we're doing it, and how we're not doing, tried to dispel a myth if it exists out there that we're not doing this shit for any money. There's no advertising, anything. It's just a mission, and that's how there's some production costs that go along with it, and we're doing it to help people, man, and that's the mission, and we'll keep doing this as long as there's people out there that are reaching out and it's happening. So if you don't like us, you don't have to listen. Obviously.
Exactly.
But on episode 21, Mother's Day episode, I had my mother on, which was I was told that I talked over her quite a bit, but she was she did pretty good at telling the story of a mother that watched her son almost kill himself via whiskey bottle, and it was, they say, powerful and probably resonated with a lot of friends and family of addicts. She went to Al-Anon, and she talked about how hard it was to watch a child just fall deep into their addiction, and I'm really hoping it resonated with friends and families of addicts.
She's the best, dude. She's awesome.
She has her moments, Jeff.
She's great with me.
Yeah. I love her to death, but she's the reason I'm here and never left my side. So, love you, Mom. Episode 22 was fun.
Yes, this was one of my favorite ones.
It was you asked for it, so I gave it. I told my Stanley Cup story, and we titled the episode "Gloria," obviously. So, if you want to hear about a divine, spiritual, fucking moment in my life, listen to. It wasn't just the fact. It wasn't just the Blues winning the Stanley Cup. It was from start to finish, everything in between, and what it did to my heart, my soul, my goosebumps, all that shit. You can find it on episode 22 titled Gloria. That was a fun episode.
That was so fun, man. It's so fun because it's like it was the ultimate cliffhanger, tying up a cliffhanger for me.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been waiting for that story for a while.
I don't share it with people because I feel almost guilty talking about it. I just completely, I don't know, and it's when I start thinking about it, I start pinching myself, and I overcome with smiles and emotion, good emotion. I don't talk about it a lot, so I'm really glad we did that because I was able to finally tell the story, and get it down too. So it's cool that it's down. So when I, if I ever lose my fucking marbles one day, my kids can hear it. Episode 23. I think we took a break for Memorial Day weekend, which was nice. To take breaks every once in a while, and talked about how fucked up I used to get on Memorial Day weekend. Well, big Hoosier-ass NASCAR fan and an all racing fan, and it's the biggest racing weekend of the year. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to have the Indy 500, the Coke 600 in the same day, and the Monaco Grand Prix preceding the Indy 500. So for years, I used to, just drink my way through, and we'd camp in Springfield, Illinois every Memorial Day weekend to watch racing and then motorcycle racing, and get get all fucked up and bang some biker chicks, and I'm just kidding. If I had
biker chicks were there with their biker dudes, so
yeah, right. May have dancing on the bar at Franny's. I got a guy that had his pecker bit by some gal at the bar at Franny's. And
I don't think you told that story on that podcast. That's great.
Good stories on episode 23. Episode 24, we talked about the elephant in the room, and it was right after George Floyd was fucking murdered by those assholes, and talked about the elephant in the room during that time, and that's still going on about. And I kind of shared personal awakening to all that shit. And I just see moving forward, there's just a lack of compassion that hurts my fucking heart. But it's just been. It's polarizing, it's divisive, which is unfortunate, but that, if you use the term call a spade, when that guy was killed, and when George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis, that was a fucking murder. And I don't think many people argued about that.
No.
And to bring up then the protests, and then the violent protests, or the rioting and looting, and all I said was, I don't condone it, but I understand anger.
Right.
And I understand when you grow up and your father was treated like shit at some point in his life, and your grandfather was treated like shit at some point in his life, only because of the color of his skin. You can grow up with a lot of anger, and I understand that, because if somebody treated my father or my grandfather like a piece of shit, even if it was on an isolated incident, I would be a little angry, and so I just try to empathize as best as I can. And I'm not perfect, and I get it wrong quite often, but on that one, on this shit, I think I got it right. I'm getting it right. I'm finally awakening a little bit. So, as tough as it was to talk about, and as tough as we've tried, hard as we tried never to really make this a political deal, and it shouldn't be political, but we can't just ignore what's going on in the fucking real world, and we sat down and we shared some thoughts. Disagree, maybe. I hate when people disagree with each other, and then it turns into a big hate fuck. Like, you don't have to hate fuck us because we say something you don't agree with, or anybody in that matter. It's just not a way to live, man.
Right.
So it's just being angry, and that shit fucking is exhausting. So turn the channel, like we said. And then I'll tell you, which is now looking at it, episode 25, we talked about forgiveness and what it means to forgive, and what it really feels like to be forgiven, and that was a like I just was nobody. It seems like nobody forgives people anymore. Or, like, if somebody changes their mind on things, people will like dig up the shit they now that it's all on social media from 10 years ago and be like, look, cancel this motherfucker. I mean, I've changed a lot in 2 months. I've changed a fucking fuck ton in 10 years. So it's not seeing a whole lot of forgiveness out there, and it's like the cornerstone of the fucking Bible. And it's when I personally think of Jesus, I think of love, compassion, forgiveness, and the hardest one to understand is the level of which Jesus can forgive and calls us to forgive. It's the hardest one out of the three, and obviously you can see that in everyday fucking life. I'm not good at it either, so I try to be better at it. And people that really fuck you over. I mean, Ashley and I've been watching Court Cam. Live PD's gone, so we watch Court Cam now. It's a fucking great show. It's people, I hate to say it, this isn't Christian, degenerates in courtrooms and shit that goes down. But at the end of the last 2 episodes they showed, I mean, these last night, or it's a Thursday night show we recorded. We watched it after the baseball game last night. The father of a kid that was robbed and killed stood up in the witness stand and told the defendant that he's not angry with him, that he forgives him, and that his son would forgive him. And, I'm not doing it justice. The defendant stood up, and they fucking hugged in the courtroom and cried. I mean, me and Ashley got teary-eyed as fuck. And, I don't know if I don't know if I'm capable of that level of forgiveness if somebody hurts one of my kid or my wife. I probably am not. But
right. Yeah,
I am capable of being like, oh, you disagree with me? I don't even need to forgive you. I just need to be okay with that. That's cool. Yeah. Or if you do motherfuck me, I can forgive you. Mm-hmm. Or if you cut me off on the road, ooh, that's tough. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Personally,
Brittany yells at me all the time for that.
Fucking assholes.
She's like, hey, get off that guy's ass. I'm like, he just cut me off. He needs to know.
Right. And, what are we going to... Yep, I'm in it. So I don't know if I can... Pray for me that I can figure that one out one day.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day was episode 26, where you told us about your old man.
Yeah.
People have heard a lot about mine through the show, and wanted to hear about your old man. And that was a cool show. Father's Day. It's normally the U.S. Open golf tournament. That's so fun times, but things are different. And we had we honored a mother on Mother's Day. Figured we'd talk about fathers on Father's Day. Yeah. Pretty simple, stupid stuff there. But it was a good episode. I think we did talk a little bit about and I didn't talk much about my old man, but I talked about what fatherhood has done to me. Becoming a father, I guess in a non-traditional way, through adoption and through fostering and then adopting, and what it's done to change my life. Because it's completely changed my fucking life for the better. And there's a 0% chance I could do it at all if I was still drinking. Mm-hmm. And not just do it good. I couldn't do it. There's just not a chance. Yeah. Episode 27 was, I got a little teary-eyed. It was a swan song, if you will, for one of our pastors at the gathering, Evie Martin, who has been there for Ashley and Charlie and I through everything. She's since moved to Kansas City to take over a pretty large church out there. I already hate her congregation because I'm jealous of them, and but maybe I could work to forgive them, Jeff.
Yes.
All right. And forgive Evie for leaving us, but whatever. I loved her episode. She obviously is eloquent and
right.
Just her words she's just a beautiful wordsmith, if you will, and I always, there's something about her being a female and a pastor that is outside of the norm in the Christian history, I guess, or for some denominations, which is part of what you said earlier about, churches that are bags of shit, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Treat people fucking like they're less than. And, to have her, I don't know, there's just something matriarchal about her and something. And then we ended the episode with me telling her that I just want to take her to a bunch of strip clubs so she can save the strippers.
Is there anything, Chris, in recovery about maintenance, if you will? Because I feel like if there is, she's been a part of that in your life. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, it absolutely. Yeah. There's a big part of about not reverting back and maintaining and succeeding one day at a time in your sobriety, because sometimes you where it sounds cliche to people that haven't battled addiction or alcoholism. One day at a time is sometimes a life and death phrase for us, and it's so literal. Mm-hmm. Even a guy with it's onward and upward with almost 6.5 years sobriety, it is, and to make that observation, Jeff, is means a lot. That she's absolutely that. For some people, it's maintaining the gym or their diet. Like Mike Wellington even talking about just depression before he got really into the bipolar stuff, about his routine in the morning and drinking water and how it hydrates you and that counters depression by being hydrated, little things like that. So yes, that's all in a maintenance. If you're in maintenance mode, if you will, and you were exactly right. She's been nothing short of that.
Right.
And I'm forever grateful. So I appreciate that observation, man. Mm-hmm. Episode 28, we took a break for the 4th, and we titled the episode Fixers, and it was a play on we said through the episode that we need more fixers. We have too many identifiers, and what I mean by that is we have too many people that can identify problems.
Right.
Not enough people willing to fix them. And and then I stood on a mountain and tried to explain to people what and how much and how important it is to have the need is for more help with the kiddos, man, in the foster homes community. And I read some brutal. I read one that was it's never easy to read. I talked about the texts that Ashley and I get, and the group of licensed foster parents get about kids that go into custody as far as the state, the Child Protective Services, and that need a home. And they have to give you the details of the child and why the child entered the city or county's jurisdiction and removed from their home. And the details are brutal is an understatement. So I read one of them, and about a 7-month-old baby that had multiple bruises and fractures over long periods of time, and he's only been alive for 7 months. So that's why he came into care, because somebody was beating the fuck out of him, and it makes you sick. And we talked about how, and I don't know if I did talk about this, but how, no school means no mandated reporting. And the system, it doesn't break down, but it loses a big, the kids lose a big safety net. That isn't perfect to begin with, but how there's more to it than, is it, obviously safety's first and going back to school, but how there's more things to think about than just, rah-rah, I'm a liberal, or rah-rah, I'm a Republican. It's not about that shit, and people don't think deep enough and hard enough about it. So 28 was hard but good, and then finally, if you're still listening, which you're probably not, on episode 29 last week, we had my man Eazy-E on, and in the picture he looks like Tony Montana or whatever. That's right. With his stogie, and that episode is still. It's still heavy or big in my heart because we just did it last week, and I'm so proud of that fucking kid. I could almost cry right now. And I strongly urge you to go and listen to that if you haven't yet. He's so honest and raw and real and vulnerable with his transparency of how bad his addiction got. He put a lot out there, and man, good on him for doing that, because it's had immediate impacts, and I mean that it's had an immediate impact on a human being that needs help. So, man, God bless him, and I am so fucking proud of you, Eric. So,
yeah,
it's been fun, Jeff, so far. It
man.
has been. It's heavy, but it's fun because it's important, and I do get some joy out of this shit. It's like I always say about grace. Once you get it, once you receive it, which I did in rehab, you just want to tell people about it and let them know they can too. It's like getting a steak at a restaurant that's phenomenal. You just want to tell all your friends, go try this fucking steak. Well, come try this grace shit. It fucking feels good, motherfuckers. Yeah. You'll love it. Jeff, thank you as always. Honor and a pleasure as always. Thanks for doing being the brains behind all this, and keeping me honest and real, and calling me on bullshit when needed to be, and dealing with my older sister because she's a fucking handful.
She's so great, man. They're in Mississippi or something at Jeff's place, and we were invited, but Brittany had to work, so I couldn't go.
I'm jealous. Yeah, but the kids are having a great time. So, thanks a lot, man. I just want to close with everybody a challenge, and this is to myself as well, just to try to listen more. Yeah, that's all. You don't have to, even if you're not in the midst of something that is deadly like alcoholism or addiction. But if you're struggling with trauma, if you're struggling with anger, just try to take a step back, surrender, listen to those that have your best interest at heart, and take back your life. Own the anger and win. Own your trauma and live. Own your grief and walk or run. Own your alcoholism or addiction and recover. Yep. In Jesus' name, bro. Let us pray.
If you're struggling or know someone that is, please have them check out our podcast and reach out to Chris or me. We want to listen, and we're super eager to help. Pondoff's Anonymous is Chris Pondoff and produced by me, Jeff Allen. Our music is Anti-Hero by McCall and Gentle Waters by Wild Wonder. For more information, visit pondoffsanonymous.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.